right, well, hey, good morning. Welcome to Momentum. My name is Seth. If you've not been with us before, thanks so much for joining us, especially Thanksgiving week and the pause and the stillness of all that, which is pretty amazing. I do love all that. Hey, like Melissa said, we're going to continue our series called Wait. I want to onboard you, just kind of like talk about this little tension I think we see in this. So for me, in high school, I played lacrosse, and I know lacrosse isn't huge in the South, so let me just explain a couple of the fundamental rules of it. Lacrosse is very similar to ice hockey and soccer if you combine the things. So it's played on a field most of the time, much like a soccer field. There's offsides like both the sports. Like hockey, though, it is full contact. There are rules on the contact, so you can't just run up and like just take anybody out the way you want. We carried lacrosse sticks, so I was a defensive player, so my stick was 6 feet long, and I could poke anybody as hard as I wanted, wherever I wanted, as long as it wasn't in the throat. So that was one rule. I could hit them with my stick. You can see why I love this. I could hit them, but I couldn't wind up past 90 degrees. It's not like a baseball bat where I'm just like trucking somebody, right? It had to be from like here on, pop, like that. Body check them, you can body check them. You could punch them as long as your fists were together. If they were like this across the stick, you can't take somebody out with the stick, but if your fists are together, boom, you can knock them. So we had to wear full contact gear, all that kind of stuff. The problem is on our gloves, so rib pads, gloves, elbow pads, face masks, all that kind of stuff. On our gloves, there was one spot on the glove that everybody just called the spot because you had to have dexterity to be able to grasp the stick, and then you had to cradle the ball to keep it inside of the net in there. So there's this spot on the glove where there was no padding because you had to be able to grab the stick. And one practice early in the season, I'm scooping down to pick up the ball, but my thumb was out like this, and somebody just chopped straight down on my stick with theirs, boom, nailed my thumb, like that sucker just kind of dangled. So my parents were gone that night, so I drove myself home, wrote with my left hand this little message, as scribbly as it was. I think I broke my thumb, I'm going to bed. So the next morning, we were at the orthopedic, I had to have surgery, pins, the whole deal. My point with it is you don't realize how much you need your thumb until you don't have your thumb. Like the opposable thumb, that tension that creates is the thing that allows me to like pick up a pen. It's the thing that allows us to write. It's the thing that allows us to tie our shoes, button your pants, try buttoning your pants without a thumb. It doesn't work too well. Opening jars, anything like that, you need that thumb to give that tension. So we often think of tension as this bad thing, but there are times in life when tension is a really good and helpful thing for us to have. So for us, when we talk about waiting and weight and things like that, for most of us, waiting, when we think of it in our mind, usually is this season that we would define as like a season of tension. We don't like the feelings of waiting because it causes discomfort in us. We don't like the pressure that it's putting on us. It puts tension on us physically. It puts tension on us spiritually, emotionally, all the realms of ourselves. When we're in waiting patterns, we feel that tension come in. And in that tension of waiting is typically where and I think a lot of us, that's when we start asking the questions. Like, God, where are you in this? I don't like this feeling. I don't want to be here forever. Like, why am I stuck? I keep praying the same prayer over and over and over, and I feel like I'm getting squeezed, but you're not relieving any of the pressure for me. And really, the worst part isn't just the waiting. The worst part for me in the waiting is the feeling of being powerless. And I don't think any of us like that feeling of being powerless. Like, we hate that feeling as humans. And there's science behind it. Like, there's science behind the idea of us avoiding that powerless feeling. It's called perceived control. We even have phrases that we use where we would rather receive bad news quickly than uncertain news slowly. So when we're in this series of waiting, we say things like, go ahead and just get it over with. Rip the Band-Aid off. Like, give it to me quickly because I don't like the feeling of the waiting. So we kind of incorporate that into our language. For a lot of us, uncertainty almost feels like death. It's hard, it's heavy, it's life-sucking out of us. It pulls something primal inside of us. It makes us act and behave erratically sometimes because we're just waiting and we're just tense. And when we wait like this, like when we really, really have to wait, something usually gets exposed in us. And this illusion of control that we think we have typically starts to fall apart in the waiting process. And suddenly the thing that we're left staring at is the thing beneath the thing. Like, what do I actually believe about God? So here's the way I would say it when it relates to tension. Waiting is the tension that tests what you actually believe about God's character. It's really easy for us to say we believe things about God. It's really easy for us to have these grand ideas and lovely images of who he is. But when we go through the hard time, and when we go through the long waits where it seems like we're not hearing from him, that is the testing ground that exposes what we really believe about who he is and what he is. Is he good? Is he present? Does he care? Does he see me? Will he act? Or will he just be unreliable? Will he just be void? Will he just be this figment of my imagination? And here's the deal. Some of you today, you walked through the very doors of this building and you're in this season of waiting. And you're exhausted from the waiting. Some of you are angry from the waiting that you've had to do. Some of you aren't exhausted and you're not angry. You're kind of a step beyond all that and you're just numb. You're like, Seth, I'm not mad. I'm done with it all. I'm tired of the bad news. I'm tired of the wait. I want to know how things are going to play out. And we just hit this point of numbness. And Isaiah chapter 40, where we're going to spend our time today, looks at us right in the face and just says, breathe. God sees you. He knows you. He's not forgotten about you. Your waiting is not wasted. Something is happening that you cannot see yet. So before we jump into Isaiah 40, I need to let you know a little bit where Israel is at emotionally, because we're going to jump into one chapter out of many chapters. We kind of have to understand what's going on and where they're at as a nation. The prophet Isaiah, his ministry spanned for about 40 years, from 740 to 700 BC. And during his, not reign, but during his ministry, he was there during the reign of 5 different kings. Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, Hezekiah, and another one there. So during the reign of these kings is when Isaiah is the prophet for the nation of Israel. Those kings are some of the most politically and morally and spiritually corrupt kings in all of Israel's history. So Isaiah is living through military threats from Assyria, who's the powerhouse country nation at the time. He's living through moral and spiritual decay within Israel itself. There's idolatry, injustice around every corner. It's really, Israel as a nation really that is slowly drifting from God, from their covenant faithfulness that they have with him. So that's the scene. And into that scene, Isaiah is called to be God's voice. And oftentimes throughout the book of Isaiah, his voice is a voice of warning, of confrontation, of invitation. But a key thing for us to know about Isaiah's prophecy in this book is it's covering both his own time, so he's speaking of what is happening with the nation right now, but he's also speaking of the future of God's people long after he will die himself. So when you flip into the book of Isaiah, the first 39 chapters, chapter 1 through 39, are incredibly heavy. Isaiah's calling Israel back to God. He's waiting for their rebellion and just that's going to lead to their destruction. He's urging them in the midst of this to come back to God, to cling to him. And by the time we reach the end of chapter 39, there's this sense of dread. The exile's coming, Jerusalem's going to fall, the temple is going to be destroyed, people are going to be carried off, death's around every corner, like the whole world is going to break for these people. But then when we do just like one change of page or one chapter to another, when we go from chapter 39 to chapter 40, the whole tone changes so dramatically, it's kind of shocking. It goes from warnings of judgment to this really comforting love of a father. So Isaiah chapter 40 now turns the page, and it's written to the future generation. It's written, in a sense, after this coming exile has happened. So the exile hasn't happened, the destruction hasn't happened, the calamity has not happened yet, but Isaiah chapter 40 is speaking of a time after those things have happened. So in this, it's speaking to the ones who will sit in Babylon, who've been carried off out of Israel, feeling like they've been forgotten and feeling like they've been defeated and convinced that God's walked out on them. And the thing is Isaiah won't even be alive when these things happen, but God gives him a word ahead of time to speak to these people so that when they hit rock bottom, they have something to cling to. So Isaiah chapter 40 is written to this generation that will one day feel crushed, forgotten, defeated, hopeless, alone, abandoned, spiritually exhausted. That is the audience of this. So Isaiah chapter 40, verse 27 says, "Why do you say, O Jacob, and speak, O Israel? My way is hidden from the Lord, and my right is disregarded by my God." Translation is, God, why don't you see me? Like, where are you in the midst of this? Why are you ignoring me? Why have you forgotten me? So the people of Israel are asking I think the very same questions that we do. When we walk through these hard times and when we're in these long seasons of wait, these are our questions as well. And that's exactly the questions the people of Israel are asking. And it's into that ache and into that confusion that Isaiah is going to start speaking the promises of God. And he starts by beginning with just like the biggest aspects of who God is. He says, "Have you not known, have you not heard, the Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He does not faint or grow weary, his understanding is unsearchable." So he says these like 4 phrases in here. He says he's the everlasting God, which means that he stands outside of time, and he sees the beginning of things from the end. He can see it all. Within the same snapshot of time, he sees the span of everything. So where we only see where we're at, when Isaiah says he is the everlasting God, he sees how it all plays out, and he can look exactly where we're at. He can look before that and see what got us to these moments. He sees all of it. He's not stuck in our timetable. So he says he's the everlasting God. He says he's the creator of the ends of the earth, which means he has the resources to literally do anything, anywhere, at any moment. So nothing is too far, too big, too complicated for him, because he is the creator of it all. All power resides in him. And with all of that power, Isaiah says that he doesn't grow weary. He doesn't get tired in it. Like your situation, my situation, it might exhaust us. The periods of trial and the periods of difficulty and the periods of waiting might be exhausting to us, but it doesn't exhaust him. He does not grow weary. His energy and his effort is limitless, just like his power is limitless. And then he says his understanding is unsearchable, meaning that in the waiting, God is doing a million things that you and I can't see. Like in our seasons of life, as we're navigating these hard times, difficult times, times where we're waiting on God, times that we're hoping for Him, times that we're praying for something, and all of these spaces where we're just kind of stuck and waiting, He's doing a million different things behind the scenes that we just don't have the ability to comprehend and to see it. And we may only live to see like 5 of these things play out, but He's doing so many things that we cannot see. So really what Isaiah is doing here is he's comparing the frailty of humanity to the infiniteness of divinity. He's trying to contrast the two things to say, like, human beings are finite. We are the ones that are not everlasting. We're the ones that don't have the power to create anything. We're the ones who do grow weary. We're the ones who don't understand everything. But the infiniteness of divinity is that He has all of that. He has all the power at His disposal. He has all the wisdom at His disposal. He does not grow weary. He's the creator of everything. But in that, His message isn't just that we're this and God's this, and then He shames us for it. The message is that we're this and God's this, and that He meets us in this. Isaiah chapter 40, verse 29 says, he gives power to the faint, and to him who has no might, he increases strength. So in our weakness, God doesn't respond with disappointment. In our seasons of waiting, in our seasons of trial, in our seasons of difficulty and frustration and anger and suffering and confusion and all of that, God doesn't get disappointed with us. He responds to us in those moments with strength. But then Isaiah gives this unexpected twist to it. He says, even youths shall faint and be weary, and young men shall fall exhausted. In other words, your strength, your personality, your intelligence, your discipline, everything that you and I bring to the table, it's not enough. The best version of you will eventually hit a wall. As hard as you try, as dedicated as you are, as devoted as you are, as much as you lean in, much as you try to white knuckle the thing and do it on your own, every single one of us will hit a wall because we don't have it in and of ourselves to do the thing. And that's why verse 31 is so powerful. It says, but they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not be faint. That word wait, Old Testament, primarily written in Hebrew. And that word wait there is the Hebrew word kavah, which means to twist or to bind together like a cord. So it's the image of strands being wrapped together and bound together tighter and tighter like a rope. It's really the image of tension. As we braid those strands together and build the rope, it's the tension, the thing is what makes the rope strong. Which means for us, they who wait for the Lord, in that space of tension, in the binding that we feel there, our waiting cannot be passive. Waiting is active. It is a tension that strengthens your faith when we walk into it like that. So while we're waiting, God is interweaving our weakness with his strength, and he's making something stronger out of us. He's teaching us endurance. He's building resolve into us. He's building spiritual muscles inside of us that we will need for what's next that we wouldn't have if we didn't walk through the season of waiting to be bound and strengthened first. So we're going to come to this one next week, but as a preview, I just want to give it to you. Lamentations 3 says this, it says, the Lord is good to those who wait for him, to the soul who seeks him. It is good that one should quietly wait for the salvation of the Lord. The thing about waiting is waiting has this ability to purify us. Waiting has this ability to burn away self-reliance. Because most of us are wired to do the thing. Most of us are wired to get up in the morning and put on our pants and tie up our boots and go to work and pound away and get the thing done and be productive. There's this self-resilience in most all of us. It's how we're built. It's kind of like the American motto, like that is our language as a people. And the thing about waiting is your self-resilience or self-reliance gets you nowhere. Because in that space, it's proving the fact that you can't change the course of history. You can't make it happen quicker. You can't make it happen smoother. You can't get the answer you want. You can't get the doctor to respond quick enough. You can't get the cancer to go away on your own. You cannot get the thing to happen within your own power. It exposes in us what we've been trusting in that isn't God. Every time we hit this season of waiting and the self-reliance burns away and we're left, it just shows all the areas in our life where we've tried to hold control and do the thing in our own way until we hit a point that we just can't do it anymore. So the truth of it all, the whole thing, is that true strength is not found in striving, but it's really found in surrendering. And when I say surrendering, I don't just mean give up and not put any effort in it. Because again, I said waiting's not passive, but it is an act of trust. Like true biblical gospel waiting is surrendering my reliance, surrendering my will, surrendering that to the Lord and say, have your way, create something in me, show me something, build something in me. I'm giving this to you. I'm asking you to build something in me. It's this act of trust. So we don't get renewed by trying harder. We get renewed by leaning in and trusting more. And if you look back at the imagery that was said in that previous verse, it's things like winged running and walking, which means that sometimes God will give you wings in those seasons of waiting where you just soar easily. You just kind of glide effortlessly. It's just happening for you so smoothly. Sometimes in that season of waiting, you've got to run with fervor, and he will give you the endurance to do it. It doesn't mean it will be easy. It doesn't mean there won't be effort on your part. It doesn't mean that you won't be exhausted, but he will give you endurance to run with fervor. And then sometimes God asks us to walk slowly. And when he asks us to walk slowly, what he will give us is perseverance. The problem with slow is we want it over quickly. I want to be through this. I want to get on. I want to get to the good stuff. Rip the Band-Aid off. Get me through this. Tell me the bad news. But when he forces us to walk slowly and be in this season for long periods of time, his promise is he will give us endurance. It won't be comfortable. It might not be on the timetable you want, but he will allow you to endure and create something new in you. And all of those, soaring like the winged eagle or running with fervor or walking slowly, all three of those are mercies from God because he's creating something in us. So the point that Isaiah is making is this. The question is not how long am I going to wait? How long am I going to be here? How long are you not going to answer me? How long are you going to allow me to suffer? How long are you going to allow this to be difficult? That's not the question we should be asking. The question we should be asking is, who am I becoming while I wait? God, in this season, what are you doing? What are you creating in me? What do you want me to understand? What do you want me to see? Why are you allowing me to go through this? What do I need to know? What do you need to expose me? What needs to be burnt out of me? What needs to be let go of? How do I need to lean into you more? So then what does active trust actually look like? I think we as a people, we have to get comfortable with embracing the tension. Tension sometimes is a good thing. Tension is a thing that exposes. Tension is a thing that allows us to grip. Tension is a thing that brings life to things sometimes. But this is also where we get sideways. Like we think waiting often means like, let me come up with what my next plan is. And if we don't, we feel bad, like we're doing nothing. Like we think people are going to look at us like we're lazy, like we're just sitting around. But waiting's not doing nothing. Waiting is about intentionally staying attached to God in the midst of the tension. In the midst of the season, it's us leaning in and intentionally like gripping on and staying attached to him. So maybe the question is, Lord, what do you want from me in this season? How do you want to grow me in this season? How are you going to use this? We've got to embrace the tension. The other one is an area where we're not good at as a people. Sometimes we need to embrace the stillness. The truth is, your body and your soul are connected. God's wired you that way. He's wired all of us that way. And in the tension and in this chaos, the what ifs of waiting spin out of control in our mind, and it's valuable for us to just get still. So we've talked about this in other series, but I'm just going to say it again because I think it's such a valuable tool. Things like the breath prayer. In these moments of anxiety and panic and fear and wondering and all the what ifs are playing out in your mind, it's beneficial for us to back away and just inhale, hold it, exhale. And as you exhale, say, I trust you, Lord. I trust you, Lord. It's not mystical, it's not magical, it's obedience. Psalm 46 says, be still and know that I'm God. How do we know that he's God? By being still. Sometimes in our life, we have to stop the chaos and just be still and just pause and just say, I trust you. So embrace the tension, practice stillness. My last encouragement is just to cling to his character and not to the timeline or not to your timeline. When you can't see the outcome of how things are going to play out, this is the space for us to cling to what we know to be true about God. Let me just read this to you. Here's a list of just some of the names that our spiritual ancestors have used to describe the Lord. El Shaddai, which means the Lord God Almighty. El Olam, which means the everlasting God. El Roy, the God who sees me. El Umanek, the faithful God. El Rahum, the merciful God. Elohim, creator and ruler. Elohim Ezar, God my helper. Emmanuel, God with us. Jehovah Rapha, the Lord that heals. Jehovah Shammah, the Lord is there. Jehovah Jireh, the Lord will provide. Jehovah Shalom, the Lord is peace. These were their ways of clinging to his character. Behind every one of those names, we see faithful spiritual ancestors of ours who walked through some sort of a season. And then after that season, they gave this name to the Lord to describe this aspect of his character that they saw vivid and evident in their season of waiting. And for them, it was a reminder that he was good, he was near, he was steady, he was not tired, he was not indifferent, he was not confused, he was not late. So for you and for I, we might feel like he's behind schedule. But the thing about God is he's never once felt rushed. He doesn't exist inside of our timeline. We as people are so linear and we like clean and we like order, and I do this and then I do this and then this and this leads to this, and if I do all these steps, I'm going to end up here happy, healthy, and wealthy. But that's not how the Lord works. He's not linear like that. He is outside of time. He's the creator. He's the holder of time. So he's going to develop these pieces in us through all kinds of ways that we would never pick on our own. So my hope is that through the series and through time that we become a church so rooted in the character of God that the storms of life, they don't shake us. That we're not a people that are freaking out when something happens. But instead, the storms of life would actually shape us. So in the waiting, we've got to learn to trust. So here's what I want to do today. Like we said throughout the series, we just want to do some stuff that's slightly different for us. I want to end with just giving us a moment to do this breath prayer thing together. And you can like hate me for it. That's cool. You don't have to participate. I'm just asking you to participate. So just let the tension go. Unclench your jaw. Don't get angry. Nobody's judging you because we're all doing it together. Relax your shoulders. Feet on the ground. We're going to do it as one family. We're going to inhale. We're going to hold it. We're going to exhale. And we're going to say, I trust you, Lord. Ready? I trust you, Lord. Let's do it again. I trust you, Lord. We're going to do it one more time. What's the thing right now that gives you apprehension, that gives you tension, that gives you anxiety, that's uncertain for you, that's unanswered for you, that's unresolved? And this time as we do it, have that thing in your mind. Inhale. I trust you, Lord. The promise is that he sees you and that he knows you, that he's not forgotten you, and that he is renewing you. And we just have to trust him in the process. We have to get comfortable in the waiting. We have to embrace the tension that is. We have to embrace the stillness to understand who he is. And then we have to cling to who he says he is, cling to his character, and not the timeline in which we want to see things accomplished. Would you pray with me? Father God, I'm thankful for who you are. God, I am positive that there are many in this room right now that are in this season. There's an answer they're looking for, and they're in this season of waiting. It might be a job situation, a family situation, a medical situation, and they're just waiting to see how it all plays out. But I'm also certain for those that aren't in the season right now, they've been there before, or they will be there one day. So God, my hope and my prayer for us as a people, us as a church, is that we could get really comfortable in trusting you in the wait. With our limited knowledge, with our limited strength, with our limited ability, that we would have a full confidence that our waiting isn't passive, but it's active when we're truly trusting to surrender everything to you. And God, as we wait, I pray that your promise would stay true, that you would give us wings to soar like eagles at times. That there would be these moments in the wait where it just feels easy, like we're just gliding. And God, I pray for the seasons of waiting where you call us just to run with fervor, that you would give us the endurance to do it when we're tired and when we're exhausted. And God, in those seasons of waiting where it just feels so long, and we just feel like we're trudging along and walking slowly. God, I pray that you would give us the perseverance to see it through, to continue trusting, and to not give up. God, you are good, you are loving, you are kind, you are faithful, you are just. It's in your name we pray.